It's 7 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, so you know what time it is. It is time for your weekly episode of SCV Chat. Before we get into everything, please remember, the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, its GEC, nor any divisions, brigade, camps, or any other subsidiaries. How is everybody doing in Dixie land? We got a couple that I've got, I guess just one thing to announce. And I believe one thing to tease for Thursday's show. And then we have some very special guests. They never disappoint. They're world famous, known throughout the southern land and across America, the Kennedy twins. And so I'll be bringing them on very shortly. But before I do, please remember that we have our winner of Dixie Rising's Rules for Rebels. And guess what? The author's on tonight. So, Mr. Sean won that. Mr. Sean, I have seen when you have gotten in touch with us. That will be sent to you very shortly. I hope you enjoy this handbook on how to fight the woke culture in today's world and reclaim the narrative. This is a book we should all have, as it is a legit handbook on how we're going to win this culture-cold civil war that we are in. So congrats to Mr. Sean for winning that again. And I have the green light to tease for this episode of Look Around the Confederation. This Thursday, we will be revealing a logo for SCV Chat. That's right, some of you have already seen it, but we're going to be showing you a new logo and maybe even something else of a surprise. And trust me, it's a great surprise for all you SCV Chat heads out there. And it is going to be a catch up on the news and talk about the future of SCV Chat episode with, of course, our new logo being the shining example. But without further ado, we have two world-famous guests on, people that you, if you are a constant viewer of the show, know very well. Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Donnie Kennedy, and Mr. Ron Kennedy. And they are, of course, our world-famous guests. Had to throw that last one in there for y'all.
There's a big difference in being famous and being infamous, but thank you very much anyway.
Hey, Harrison, the trouble with being twins, see, he was a little faster in saying that than me. I was already thinking about it.
He's always been a little slower. We sort of, we make excuses for him, so don't worry.
Oh,
that's all right. Hey, pretty makes you slow sometimes. What can I
say? That's what I tell Connor every time he puts me in charge of talking about the news on Look Around. I'll, of course, trip over my words every now and then. And that's Connor. When you're this good looking, man, sometimes the words just can't get out of your mouth. They want to stay with you. Oh, well, I know y'all have a great topic. And, of course, everybody here on the chat knows that y'all never disappoint when you guys are on the show. So I am eagerly waiting to hear about what y'all have been up to lately.
Well, first of all, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of revisit a little bit what we did this weekend. You were there at the red carpet event and the memorial service we did. Give us the SCV Chat take. I saw y'all interviewing quite a few people. What did you think about the red carpet event and the interviews you was doing? I know you did interview me, and I stumbled over a few words, but tell us about some of the other people you interviewed.
Well, yeah, I guess, one of those lessons is don't interview people when there's food right in front of them, especially Southerners. They're going to gravitate towards the food. Connor figured that out a bit later into the interviews, and he's interviewing people by the food bar and while they're getting to their seat, and he's able to get a couple more words out of them. But I had a great time, and it wouldn't look like it because I was running all over the place because we got some new equipment. It works perfectly, but we had some unusual audio problems and a little bit more slower video, so I was trying to fix that. I call that growing pains. This was our first big live stream with this equipment. We've tested the equipment before, but you never know how something's going to do until you take it out to the field.
You gotta
And of
launch.
course,
You gotta launch the ship before you know how it floats. That's all. That's all there is to it.
yes, sir,
One
and
of the
that's
people.
exactly what.
One of the people you interviewed that I had the pleasure of talking to and standing close to was General Forrest's great grandson, I believe.
Mhm.
And that was very interesting. And you had a lot of interesting people there, and I thought we did a really good time. We did discover the acoustic still needs a little work and tweaking, and which I think once we get all our stuff in the museum and get the acoustics, it shouldn't cost that much, just a few pennies to adjust some of the acoustics, and I think we'll be ready to go. I was very interested in seeing how the timeline, the storyboards all were coming along. So I was very pleased with the event. I thought it was a good event, and we had quite a few people at the memorial service, even though it was wet and cold. I left Louisiana in short sleeves. I got up there in Tennessee, and my goodness, it was cold up there.
Of course, the first time I break out my new seersucker suit, it's 52 out and windy
52 degrees.
and a
Yep.
bit of rain, and I'm sitting here and I look at Connor while we were filming, and me and Connor had the same problem. We both only packed seersucker suit. You cold? Very.
Very. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I can't let this slip. The senator and I think 3 representatives from the Tennessee legislature that was there. That was inspiring to hear those legislators speak, and especially the young lady. I'm sorry, the lady, the representative that did the leading us in Dixie at the end of the program. I can't remember her name, but she was very inspiring. Young lady, homeschool her children, very dedicated to the cause of the South. And one thing that really got me going was them talking about working in the legislature in Tennessee, which is reflective of every southern state, and how much trouble they were having getting people to stay in line to do what they said they were going to do originally. And what we need is some way to get the people in the state of Tennessee or Louisiana to become active in giving those people the help they need. We got some good people in there. We need to give them some help. Don't you think, Ron?
Yeah, that's the key to a successful political effort. And it doesn't have to be done by the SCV, but a lot of it can be and should be. That's let me tell you something. You don't fulfill the the charge by polishing tombstones. I'm sorry. That's not the charge. Our charge is to vindicate the cause. Now, if you polish a tombstone and then you put it on social media, or you send letters to your local elected officials with a picture showing what you did, that you're an honorable part of society, that you're taking care of this cemetery, then you're fulfilling the charge. But by God, if you're just out there polishing tombstones, all you're doing is marking a tombstone so Antifa will know where to come to break it. No, our job is to be active in the political realm. And that's why I wrote Dixie Rising Rules for Rebels. It's a strategic plan to become politically active. It's not a perfect plan. Okay, I admit that. But all you critics out there, if you got a better plan, then reduce it to writing and let's talk about it. Until then, this is the plan. It's a strategic plan for a fundamental change in American government. So we're not going to just get monuments back. We're going to get our country back. But you got to do that locally. You got to start with your local representatives and your senators in your state legislature. You got to give them reasons to stand up for the cause. You just can't wait till all of a sudden there's a bad bill showing up and you get active and you say, oh, let's call all our representatives. They're going to say, who the heck are you? I've never heard of you. It's our fault that we're losing this fight, but it's our job to turn it around.
It's a challenge. It really is, but it's a challenge that we can meet. And if we meet it properly, we can be victorious. Just listening to those ladies and gentlemen at the memorial service, the representatives there talking about how they were so close to getting what the people in Tennessee desired. And then all of a sudden they saw I had the rug pulled out from under them, much like Mississippi had the rug pulled under them when the Mississippi flag was all of a sudden pulled away, and they were given that so-called flag they have now. Same thing happened in Georgia. The same thing happened in South Carolina. Ron, did not the same thing happen in Louisiana?
It's happened 3 times to us in Louisiana, and
Right.
It's time we did something about it.
Well, and if you don't forget about it, little brother, we're going to talk about what some of the things we're going to do about it here in a little bit. One thing I want to go over, we need to think about some of the ways to get our name, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, get our name out to the general public. There's no perfect way, but there are several ways. This past weekend on Sunday, May the 8th, we had another flyover over NASCAR. You know, NASCAR banned the Confederate flag. It jumped whole hog into the Bubba Wallace noose hoax that they pursued, and then they banned the concept or the banner "Let's Go Brandon," which, interesting enough, started with their racetrack. So the SCV this past weekend, we had our big Confederate flag flying. There it is. You see a picture of it. Confederate flag right on the bottom of the Confederate flag. It says scv.org, and it says, "Let's Go Brandon." Now, what we're doing here is letting the world know that the Sons of Confederate Veterans are standing firm for the First Amendment right of freedom of expression. We are sticking our finger in the eye of people like Disney and other big corporations that are going woke on us, and especially NASCAR, because it is a Southern organization, and it was Southerners who made NASCAR what it is. And so we're trying to get back into the news with this. And interesting enough, today I was on a statewide hookup Moongraphon radio show talking about this incident. We've got the SCV got statewide publicity in Louisiana. If we could do that in all southern states, think of the millions of people that we could contact. We've got to be able to get our name and our message before John Q. Public, or else all they're going to hear is the negative side, and they'll never hear about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Ron made the point just then that a politician in Baton Rouge or in Nashville or Richmond, if they only hear from you when you're begging them not to vote for a bill, they're not going to pay any attention to you. You know, they'll give you some credence, but not much. But if they hear from us year round, month after month, they hear something about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. If they get letters from the local SCV camps in their office every other month talking about issues, and if they see Confederate Dixie defenders and Southern defenders being passed out and being read, if they hear our radio ads on TV occasionally, those politicians then will understand that the Sons of Confederate Veterans is a bigger organization than what they thought, and we are activists in the cause of preserving our heritage. So then when you go to them in the legislature, they know who you are and they respect you.
And I can tell you something else too. If you do these things that we're talking about, not only will the politicians hear about it, of course, the general public will hear about it, but the big donors, I'm talking about the $1,000 donors to these politicians who give their money, not because they want good government, because they want a politician in there to do them certain favors. These big donors will hear about that and they'll say, look, let's don't get these people riled up, because they may cause you to lose the election and I'll lose my investment. I've got a big investment in you, boy. I don't want you to get involved against these people. And this is especially true when you're in a parish in Louisiana or a county in a common law state, such as Tennessee, Mississippi, the rest of the Confederation. And the demographics are in your favor. We recently had and this is to our shame in Louisiana. We recently had a parish that in the 2020 election voted like 57 to 58% in favor of Trump. I mean, this is a solid red parish. And yet the Republicans in that parish, the elected officials, we call them police jurors, county commissioners, you'd call them in common law, they voted to remove the monument. What's going on here? And it's our fault. The first time they'd heard from us probably was when we started telling them, don't move our monument. It was a little late then. You know, it's sort of like you can't shut the gate after the horse is already bolted. You got to do work well ahead of time. And I can tell you, these big money donors, they will get the message that these SCV people, these Southern Heritage people, they're activists, they're doing things. I see and I hear about it all the time. Let's don't do something that's going to cause us to lose an election. And if you'll read in Dixie Rising, I tell you how we can cause them to lose that election. So we're going to have to make some of them lose an election, even if we had to put a Democrat in their place. That doesn't matter. The word will get out. Don't cross these people. They are serious.
All you have to do it one time.
The whole herd will get the message if you do it once. Now, I'm not saying go in there and replace every Republican in your state legislature with a liberal Democrat. But if you pick one who has stabbed you in the back, a rhino that has stabbed you in the back, you go to one of his the Democratic opponents that almost won in the last election, you put him up and you support him and you get rid of the rhino, the backstabber, and all of a sudden you've got not a pretended friend at your back, but you've got a known opponent in front of you who owes his election to you. And the whole rhino herd will find out about it. And then when you call them and say, listen, I'm with the SCV, all of a sudden you got clout. You have political clout. Until we have political clout, we're going to be stepped on like a June bug.
Oh, a June bug. I like that term. One of the problems we are having is getting our message out in the media. Obviously, with this flyover we did yesterday, we noticed that both the big social media accounts and the big media outlets, they were very quiet about what we're doing. Now, we did get a good bit of publicity, but nothing like what we should have from this. One of our problems is we don't have good media outlets. I just told you about being on the Moon Griffon show today in Louisiana. His program covers the entirety of the state of Louisiana. There are conservative talk radio personalities. There are good weekly newspapers throughout the South. Every southern state has these entities. If we had a list of these people, when we do an event like this, whether it's the red carpet event or whether it's a memorial service or whether it's a flyover, whatever we need to get our information, whenever we need to get our information out, if we had that list, we could send it to those people that are friendly and lean toward what we believe in anyway. In every southern state, there are at least 5 good weekly newspapers that we could send our message to. There are at least 2 or 3 good conservative talk radio shows and podcasts that we can get our message to. Do you realize if we had a collection of that from 15 southern states and then 2 or 3 from the non-southern states, do you realize how many millions of people that we could reach with one of these events? We could send that message out to them. Surely a third to half of them would pick it up. We're talking about millions of people will hear about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Millions of people in Louisiana right now, 73% support our cause. That 73% will hear about it and they'll feel good and they'll stick with us. And Ron, who else will hear about all this?
The politicians will hear about it.
Great. And let me ask you folks, to reach all these millions of people, Ron, if you got your calculator, can you figure out how much that's going to cost us to reach all these people?
Man, I am really a great mathematician. That will cost us nothing.
Nothing. All it will cost us is for our membership at the local level to take a listen, look at your newspaper. Here in my area, I have a Ouachita Citizen. It's a weekly paper that comes out in Ouachita Parish. It's probably got around 10,000 circulation. They are a middle of the road to conservative right paper. They never refuse us. Ron and I have run personal ads in there for our books. The SCV has run ads in there. They have taken our letters to the editor. They announce our events. It's papers like that across the state of Louisiana. Here in Union Parish, there's at least one and possibly two local weekly papers that will do the same thing. If we had a list of those papers and programs like Ron, what's the name of the gentleman in your area that has the conservative talk radio and television show?
Jeff Cruer.
Jeff Cruer. We have Jeff Cruer.
He writes on Town Hall as well, national.
See, and if we could get stuff to him, we may end up with some of our information going to Town Hall. Then we're beginning to go national. And again, Ron, how much will that cost us?
Calculating again, nothing.
Nothing. And this is what I don't understand. When I have people saying, you're not fighting for the cause. We're losing our money. What are you doing? And then my question is, what are you doing to help us to get our message out to John Q. Public? What are you doing to help us get our message out to the political establishment? Remember, Robert E. Lee wasn't taken down in Charlottesville and in Charleston and in New Orleans by the federal government. Ron, who took those statues down?
Local politicians and local politicians who were Democrat, but they all owe a lot to the state of Louisiana. We finance a lot through public tax monies for New Orleans, and there's no reason in the world why the state legislature couldn't have said, New Orleans, you do that, and you're not getting any more money for your pumps to keep the place dry when the rain comes.
Right. And that same thing is true in Nashville, in Richmond, in Columbia, South Carolina, anywhere. We can have that type of influence, but we cannot have that type of influence by being a well-kept secret. So that's why it's important. I'm going to ask people, if you have each camp and each division needs to have an individual, I'm calling a media czar, that will see to it that they collect these names, address, telephone number, email address, whatever, and send it to me. You can send it to Walter D. Kennedy. You can send it to wdkennedy@reagan.com. It's sometime I'm hoping, Moose, you can get that up there, but it's my email address, wdkennedy@reagan.com. Kennedy like the president, Reagan like the president. And just send me that information. We'll start collecting it. And I can't do it this time, but I guarantee you the next man that's the chief of Heritage Operation, he'll start collating that and putting it together, and we'll start getting our information out across the world. Now, here's something else we can do. We can go national. Ron, what's the possibility of going national, you think, on our advertising and information effort?
Well, it depends on who's in charge next time. But if Kennedy is Lieutenant Commander in Chief, and we got a really good guy running for Commander in Chief, and of course the current Commander in Chief will still be on the GEC, and he's a good supporter and strong man. So I think there's an excellent opportunity of us taking some real money, and instead of wasting it on lawsuits and having lawyers go cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching as they run up the bill, we can go national, and we can have some national exposure. And listen, the reason why it's important to go national Well, there's many reasons, but the main reason is that if you'll buy some ads on Newsmax, if you'll buy some ads on Breitbart, they're pricey, they're expensive, but you get national exposure. And then when there's an event, say there's an insult made against the Confederate flag in Charlotte, North Carolina. Wait a minute, Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's right.
Well, if the ABC, CBS, if they want to find out to someone to talk to, they won't go to some wimpy professor at some Southern university who's going to apologize for slavery. They're going to look and say, well, these people with the SCV, they've been on the air a lot. Let's go talk to them and see what they say. And there's no guarantee they're going to give us a good spin, but if we, it's like the old politician says, I don't care what you say about me, just get the name right. And that's what we're doing when we're dealing with national exposure. This is something that I think the GEC's got to take serious consideration in. And I think that it's something that the Confederate Legion has got to promote. We've got to go national. We've got to have the ability to get national exposure. So when there's an issue that comes up, the SCV, not some other wimpy organization that won't stand up and tell the truth, but the SCV, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, will be the organization that the national media will come to. I mean, there's no reason in the world why the chief of Heritage Operations shouldn't be interviewed by Tucker Carlson when one of these issues comes up. There's no reason in the world why there ought to be a line of communication. Even if he's not interviewed, at least he can call Tucker Carlson's office and leave a message and tell him, look, you misquoted something. Let me tell you what the truth is, and please get it corrected. Thank you very much for what you're doing. There's other good conservative talking heads that we could do that to, but we're not going to do that if we stay hunkered down. Now, another reason to go national is gives us a chance also to promote the museum. We've got the National Confederate Museum. And if you want to know the truth about the war for Southern independence, come down and take a look at our museum. It'll be well worth your trip down to south of Nashville, Tennessee, and Columbia to see our museum. So it all works together to promote the cause, but we can't do it if we stay hid in the closet. I always say that the homosexuals came out of the closet so they could put the Confederates in there. Well, by God, it's time to kick the door down. We're not staying in there.
That's correct. And as Ron had said earlier, who else hears about this when we go national but politicians? Again, we're letting them know at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level that the Sons of Confederate Veterans are keeping an eye on what's going on. All these rhino Republicans who have been kissing the ass of BLM, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa, they need to learn that they're going to get their butts kicked by us now. So they're going to have to quit kissing their tail, kissing the Black Lives Antifa people's butt, and pay attention to us, or else we're going to kick them right out of office if necessary. We can do this. And this is why it's so important that we become active. Right before we get off this subject of the flyover, I need to right quick just say I've had a lot of people on the internet been contacting me since the flyover, and they've had some good questions. First of all, one person want to know how much did this cost, and how much did it cost, and how much are we going to make out of it, and that sort of thing. So let me tell you right quick. The total cost for this flyover was $5,500. 1/3 of it was paid by an SCV member. He said, I'll do 1/3. 1/3 of it was paid by the Confederate Legion. The Confederate people who donate money to the Confederate Legion do so with the idea that their money will be used to promote the cause of the South. And then 1/3 of it is coming out of heritage promotion from the SCV. And again, people donate their money for that cause. Now, we do not make money on these events. I think what a harebrained idea. This is advertisement. we make money in the long run, not the short haul. So that's where the money's coming from. That's how much it costs us. And we have donation. People end up donating, and a lot of this money be returned to us through donation. But the main thing is, this is part of the process of retaking the narrative. It is not the silver bullet that's going to kill the neo-Marxists. It is part of the process. And Ron and I, in a minute, we're going to talk a little bit more about that process of taking back the narrative, how we do that. Ron was talking about lawyers. Yes, there will be times when we will have to file a lawsuit, but we should spend, for every dollar we spend for lawsuits, we should be thinking now we ought to be spending $2 or $3 in getting our information out.
$5.
But Ron says $5, 1 to 5. The point is, if you'd go, I wish somebody would do a tally of how many millions of dollars we have spent in lawsuits and what has been the end result. Most of the time, if we win it all, we'll win a short period in a local court, which is eventually overturned. I saw it happen in Virginia. I've seen it happen in Shreveport. In Texas, we went all the way to the Supreme Court only to have it turned over there. And this is something, how in the world do people think that we can go to a federal court and have the federal court be honest and fair to a Confederate group? They killed our ancestors, folks. They burned us down. They impoverished us. Why do you think the federal system is going to be fair now? And the state courts, as Ron will tell you, he's had more experience with this than I have as a paralegal and as a contract law individual. The state courts are just really lackeys for the federal system. They're not independent system. Is that not correct?
No, that's correct. And the main problem is that about 85% of the law schools in America, and that includes the ones in Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, South Carolina, et cetera, but especially in the big, Ivy League law schools, but all of them are 85 to 90% liberal. They don't have any conservative teachings. So it's not surprising that about 70% of the practicing lawyers in America are liberal. They identify themselves as liberals and as they vote Democrat. So, it's the system is working against us. You can't expect the federal government that destroyed the original Constitution to somehow be loyal to the original Constitution. It's not going to happen. And the state politicians are primarily trying to climb the ladder to get up to the national level where all the big money is. So it's our jobs. It's our jobs to do something about it. And we got to do it by working locally.
Yeah, Ron, it was like a gentleman told us one time, as far as making it happen, it ain't going to happen until we make it happen.
Right.
The change in the judicial system, the change in society will not happen until we make it happen, and we're the ones to do it. Now, Moose, we've been rattling on. Are you getting close to an ad or something, or break here? I don't want to monopolize all your time.
You have a great internal clock. I was about to interrupt and be like, well, guys, it's about time for a Pop-Tart break, so let's all give Mr. Donnie some points for that internal clock of his. It's right on time.
Good.
Please remember, our commercial break is sponsored by Make Dixie Great Again. Join the Confederate Legion today and visit www.makedixiegreatagain.org. We'll be right back after this Pop-Tart break.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told. If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Woo! I sure would like to see that on Tucker Carlson or one of the other Newsmax shows.
For sure. I always love that commercial. Of course, I'm a little. My father does the voiceover for it, but I always love it and always gives me goosebumps, especially when it pans over and you see the logo of, our great organization. It just, man, if stuff like that doesn't fire you up, you don't need to be here.
That's right. I would hope that, as Ron was speaking a while ago about going national, that we could take that ad there. We may have to truncate it in some. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we could take that and see about putting it on either Newsmax or Fox, one of their major programs. It's going to be pricey, but I think that our people would be more than happy to donate and to start putting money back just to see that on a major radio TV. But our website must be equipped in such a way that when we get 1,000 to 5,000 people who want information and want to join the SCV, they don't have a long waiting time between the time they contact us and the time that we can grab them and hold them as almost like provisional membership, so we can get their money, their address, and we'll say, okay, now we'll work with you to work out your genealogy, and in 4 years, if we can't get your genealogy straight and you still want to be active, we'll put you in a friends group then. Something like that, because if you go national, you want to be able to harvest all those people. It could be thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that'll say, hey, I want to be part of this. And we need to be able to, in some ways, to grab those people and to hang on to them. So, I'm looking forward. I'm at the end of 4 years as Chief of Heritage Operation. Lord willing, and if the people will elect me as their Lieutenant Commander in Chief, we're going to pursue that, and I believe that Jason will be in there as Commander in Chief, and we're going to pursue something like this, that we can go national. And we won't be advertising every week, but we ought to be able to do it quarterly anyway. And once people see this and hear about the National Confederate Museum, a place where they can hear the real history of the South, you're going to have a lot of people that's going to be interested, and they want to come see it. So,
absolutely. And I agree with Chuck McMichael there. Where he said he'd rather spend the money on ads than lawsuits. And Chuck, you're absolutely right. God bless you, fella. And listen, I can recall when we ran, the Confederate Legion ran some ads on, what was that fella's name, the radio DJ out of Houston, Donald? I keep forgetting.
Oh, I wish you hadn't asked me now. I'll think of it in a minute.
He's having a senior moment now, but at any rate, his program was based out of Houston, but he's heard in New Orleans and a number of
Atlanta,
southern states. And in the evening, the drive home time, and I cannot tell you the number of people at work who said, I heard y'all's ad on the radio. But what really impressed me was a couple of SCV members that came to him and said, Man, I was driving home the other day and I heard an ad. I thought that was a wonderful ad, and then I heard it was the paid for by the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Man, it made me feel so proud to be part of the SCV. That's, so even these ads going national they will have so many good points. It's going to get new members. It's going to get new friends and associates. It's going to get knowledge of national media that'll come to us. But it's also going to stimulate and motivate our people to say, hey, look, we're in this fight and we can win this fight. Plus, we can take clips of those ads and put it on our social media.
There you go.
And let them keep running.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ron, I want to get into, we've got probably, I don't know, Moose, about 15 minutes, it looks like. I want to get into some examples of proactive efforts that we can do. Ron said a while ago, we've got to quit being reactive. We are reacting to what the enemy is doing. We've got to be proactive. We got to make them react to us, and especially the political leadership. We got to make them react to us for a change. Now, here in Louisiana, there's two guys that have been known for being a little bit radical, and they're going to do, they have already done and begin to collate a poll of Louisiana conservative, Republican, and Libertarian voters. Ron, can you tell us about what these nuts are up to now?
Yeah, the radicals, those extremists, people have said for years people shouldn't associate with us because we're going to bring the wrong kind of people into the SCV. But we decided, Don and I decided, let's do something positive that we can send the message to our political leaders. So we've done a 1,000 random selected conservative, that is registered Republican. We've mailed out the letters with a return postcard, and we're doing a survey. And basically the survey is 4 questions, and I won't go into great detail. Donald, did you cover those 4 questions in your advance the colors?
Yeah, advance the colors. Yeah, forward the colors.
Forward the colors in the next issue of the Confederate Veteran. But basically, we're saying, do you want your political leaders, your elected officials, to do more to protect your Southern heritage? And I know what the results is. I don't have to do a survey. I know what the results would be, because in Louisiana, we had 74% of the population, not conservative Republicans, but the population, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, the whole spectrum, 74% said they wanted to keep and preserve our monuments and our Confederate heritage. Even in New Orleans, it was like, 50% said let's hold on to our monuments and our heritage.
About 48%.
48%.
Yeah, 46 to 48% of New Orleans said leave our Confederate monuments alone. And so New Orleans is 90% Democrat, or maybe 95% Democrat.
So the point is, we're going to get this information back. We're collating it now. It's a lot of work. Anybody that's taken stats in college, you know how much work it is. Moose, you may have taken it. You know how much work it is. I'm not doing p-values or all that kind of good stuff, because I've got these other official Gallup poll type of surveys, even the ones done by LSU. I've got those to back it up, but it shows well over 80%, 90%. And sometimes it's so high, I'm going to have to throw some negative in myself, because you can't have a respectable poll if 100% of the people are saying, are answering on it, that they want our politicians to do more, but it shows that our people here in Louisiana are sick and tired of politicians who will placate Black Lives Matter. They'll placate Antifa. They run afraid of the progressives and the liberal media, and they ignore the very people that elected them. So we're going to get all that back. We're in the process now of getting ready to send a letter to every elected Republican state senator and state representative, and we're going to read the riot act to them in a short, polite letter, basically asking, implied, I don't ask this outright, but implied in the letter, why are you ignoring your constituency and sucking up to Black Lives Matter? Quit, slandering our heritage. Do your job, represent our interests. And that letter will go out. Then we're going to ask at the state division meeting coming up in May, we're going to ask the various camps to then take a similar letter and send it to every elected Republican in their area, whether it's the county commissioner or, as we say, police juryman, whether it's the sheriff, whether it's the dog catcher, if he's Republican or she's Republican, and they elect, we asked in the camps to send this letter out. Now, what does that do? Is that in and of itself going to be enough? No, that's just part of the battle. But we've got to get into the battle, and we've got to get knee deep into the battle. And that's what this is about. But remember, when Donald and I send this letter out to all the state representatives and state senators, they're going to look at the letter and say, oh, well, it's just the Kennedy boys, But they go back home and they're having their business meeting with their fellow Republicans, their fellow office holders, their fellow political clique. And all of a sudden they say, I got a letter too. I got a letter too. I got a letter too. All of a sudden the talk goes dynamic.
Viral.
This is more than just one or two people. This is a major thing. And look, obviously, they cite other polls, even LSU. And, if you're in Louisiana, you can't doubt anything LSU says, So LSU says that the vast majority of our citizens want to preserve their Confederate monuments, their Confederate heritage. So this is the beginning, but you can't stop at that. And that's where I'm challenging the Louisiana division, that you've got to then set up a fund. So once a quarter, you're doing that ads on that statewide, like Donald was on Moon Griffant, or local ads. You've got to keep your name before the public. You've got to be sending these letters out to your politicians on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be every week. It doesn't have to be every month, but it should be every other month, every quarter. You should be actively involved. You say, well, what if you do? Let's see, we have a real big thing where we get together and put Confederate flags on our cars and drive up and down the highway. Oh, well, that's all right for people who see it, but get pictures of it and you send it to every politician. Aha. But you're doing things like that all the time. So, well, all we've ever done was clean this cemetery. We're proud of, and that's good. That's good. Get pictures and then send it to every politician in your area. We have to be active. We have to look. We have to be the big organization that we really are. If we do this at the local level, the division level, if we do it at the national level, we can triple. We can have 100,000 members. When you get up to 100,000 members, no one's going to ignore you. It's our job to hit that 100,000 mark.
And it can be done. Again, I'm just amazed at how our people so often will accept so little. Shoot for the moon, people. We can do this. This is, and it's not that difficult of a job. Ron, nationwide right now, the last poll that you've seen nationwide, what is not the rest of America? We're not talking about the South, but New England and the far West. How do they feel about Southern heritage?
Well, even in, I think it was a CNN poll that they did nationwide. There's several that's been done nationwide. The CNN poll was the lowest. It was like 55% of Americans from the West Coast, the liberal left coast, all the way over to the liberal East Coast in New England. 55% of the people saw the Confederate flag as a symbol of Southern pride, not as racism, and they thought that our monuments should be left alone. That's Yankees saying that. That wasn't a Southern. Now you get down into the South, and it's up in the 65. I think the latest one in North Carolina, 65%. Louisiana, it was high 70s. So we've got the potential. We just got to put it to work. We can do it, though.
And it must be done. If, as Jason and Larry, get official, as our commander-in-chief and lieutenant commander-in-chief so often said, if not now, when? And if not us, who? Folks, if it's not us doing it now, there will be very little chance that somebody 20 years from now is going to be able to do it. 20 years from now, instead of 73% of the people of Louisiana favor Confederate heritage, you'll be lucky to have 37%. The way things are going now, if we don't change the way we're doing. What the things that Ron outlined in Dixie Rising Rules for Rebels and what he's been talking about tonight is SCV people stepping out of our comfort zone. We are very comfortable. I joined the SCV in '85. I didn't join the SCV to get into a political movement. I'm sorry, that's not what I joined. I joined because I love my heritage. I love being with fellow Southerners who talked about the war and the battle and trading notes on what our ancestors did. But the war came to us, folks. We didn't go to it. We're not the one that started this. As Ron said earlier, it's not the federal government that's taking down monuments. It's our local wormy scallywag politicians. And until we get busy and pushing back, they're going to keep coming down. If we do not give our information out to John Q. Public, that 73% in Louisiana will soon be 53, and then 43, and then 35, and then it's all gone. If we cannot win at 73%, what chance will we have when it's at 53%? You know, we've got to do it. It can be done. That's what the whole reason we started the Confederate Legion, to set up a system where every other month we'll have what we call a Confederate counterattack. Coming up in June, we'll have the counterattack will be 4th of July, America's secession holiday, where we'll clearly let America, Southerners in particular, but us Americans in general, know that this nation was founded on an act of secession, that the Declaration of Independence clearly tells us that free people have the right to alter or abolish any government that they deem unnecessary or oppressive to their interests, and to establish a new government more to their liking. That's what our colonial fathers did in 1776. That's what our Confederate forefathers did in 1861. That is nothing to be ashamed of. And we need to let the general public know what we're doing. We need to get the local SCV camps, need to send out letters to various civic organizations and groups and to local elected leaders. We need to buy some radio ads. Dixie Defenders, go listen, SCV camp, start doing gun shows. We've got a great Dixie Defender that's designed for gun shows, and it gives pro-South information. Give out these Dixie Defenders, buy 100, 200, give them out. Talk to people. You can maybe get a member or two, but as Ron has said before, the idea of a gun show is not to gain a bunch of members. If you can, wonderful. But the main thing is to let John Q. Public know who we are and what we are about. When John Q. Public sees us, the political establishment will see us also. So we can win this fight. It is not a hopeless fight. As a matter of fact, I've often said, with so many people favoring what we believe in, how in the heck are we losing? We're losing because we're fighting the wrong way. We can't take our rifles and go circle the monuments and start shooting at the people who are trying to take down the monuments. If January the 6th proved anything to conservative Americans, it should have proved to you that the federal government right now will do whatever they deem necessary to defeat people they don't like. And you think they will not arrest you and throw you in jail for life because you were circling a monument and brandishing a weapon in public? You're crazy. Look what they've done to innocent people in the January 6th incident. People who have been in jail now for over a year and hadn't even had charges filed. Ex post facto doesn't exist for them. It's as if Lincoln was president again.
Okay, Donald, you're doing a great job there, but I wanted to circle back to the
Oh, you're a circle back.
yeah, like the redheaded girl. Oh, let's
Yeah.
circle back. What is, I don't even know her name, but don't want to know. But back to the to the survey, because
No.
again, I'm challenging the Louisiana division. I'm challenging the Sons of Confederate Veterans in Louisiana. Let's get behind this. Donald and I have worked. I cannot tell you how many hours we put into this. I'm
Has it
not
been
even going to
free?
mention
Has
the
it cost
dollar.
us? Has it cost us anything?
Yeah, it cost us a lot of time, but also money as well. But that doesn't matter. If the division, the Louisiana division, will get behind this and do this, I want to be able to take it to the GEC in January, July or August, whenever the next GEC meeting is, and see what we did in Louisiana, because I have, thanks to the good folks in Florida, I have some contacts with a national survey firm. It's going to cost some money. Just like suing and hiring lawyers costs money. It's going to cost us some money. But we can get a similar survey, and it'll probably be a lot better survey. It'll have the p-values and all that good stuff you do in stats, that people go crazy about. It'll be a good survey, a reputable firm doing the survey, and we'll do it in every 16 southern states. And when we get the results back, we'll pay. There's a place where in each state where you can pay the press association to send out your press release to every newspaper, every radio station, every TV station in the state. That doesn't mean they'll pick it up, but it'll give you a good chance. That we'll do that in every southern state. We'll get this information out like crazy. We can do it. And I agree with Carl Jones. Of course, who would dare disagree with Carl Jones? But every division should share a link to this episode. We've got to do this, folks, and we can win. I know we can win. There's no doubt. Matter of fact, in Dixie Rising, Rules for Rebels, I have an example of 5 countries, 5 people who used irregular political activity, just like what I'm talking about, irregular political warfare, in order to gain their freedom or else to preserve their cultural heritage within an otherwise oppressive nation. It has been done before. By God, if they could do it, we can too. All right, I'm through preaching.
Well, I think that's a pretty good spot to end on, Moose, unless you've got something else you want to talk about.
No. Man, Mr. Ron, you got me fired up towards the end. But yeah, I mean, this is what it takes, people. Commitment. Past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramlin talks about all the time that our enemies are more committed to destroying our heritage right now than we are to defending it. And these 2 world-famous twins have hand-given us a plan to start fighting back. It's about time to start fighting back and reclaim the narrative. Reclaim our heritage, and don't let our enemies tell everybody what our heritage is.
That's
but
right.
Let us tell them what our heritage is. And yeah, I kept Carl's message up here for a bit. I wouldn't be doing my job as a producer if I didn't tell everybody to share this video a good bit. I don't think Connor would fire me if I didn't tell anybody to share. So please share this to any SCV groups you're in, or SCV pages you are a part of, or bring the knowledge to any Confederate, let me say that, real Confederate pages out there. I'm not talking about, the fake ones, the ones that are a bit out there, I guess is the great way to say it. Send it to healthy, good men of the South or women of the South that are running these Confederate pages. And let's get this episode out here, folks, because these 2 gentlemen have said a lot of great things this episode. And it deserves to get out to as many eyes in our organization and beyond as possible. Because this is our fight, and the time to stand is now. But y'all don't have anything else to say.
Well,
I guess
I thought you were closing up on us. It's good for me. I'm satisfied. I think we've said it all. Let's don't.
You better be careful. Kennedys are from Mississippi, and we know how to filibuster. So if you got a chance to shut us down, you better shut us down.
But remember to go online and you can get Dixie Rising's Rules for Rebels. It's a playbook on how we're going to reclaim the narrative in today's world. And, of course, Mr. Sean doesn't have to pay for one because he won the giveaway. And so,
Good
Mr. Sean, I'll be sending that to you very shortly. I ask that everybody share this video and to remember to tune in for Look Around the Confederation this Thursday, same Confederate time, same Confederate channel at 7 p.m. Confederate Standard Time. We will be discussing all the news that y'all have sent in and recovering some news that might have been left out in the busy month of April we had. And we'll be revealing something special. Trust me, I can't exactly explain it right now, but when we get on the show Thursday, I'll be able to explain it. And I'll be revealing, for those who have not seen it, the new SCV chat logo. So, please remember, if you have any projects you want to talk about or news, please email us at scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com, and you'll be featured on the upcoming episode of Look Around the Confederation. And I'll leave you guys with these words before, no Fumar. Again, this has been said a lot, but it needs to be reset. If not us, who? And if not now,
when?
So with that, let's all thank the world-famous Kennedy twins, Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Donnie Kennedy, and Mr. Ron Kennedy for coming on and giving us a great chat episode as always. And beg them to come back, basically. But without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next episode. No Fumar in the elevator.